PC Gamer recently got a 3-hour demo with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so here are the 5 things that stood out to us most of all. With Origins, Odyssey and now Valhalla, Assassin's Creed has leaned more and more heavily into RPG storytelling. Valhalla especially feels like it's taken a lot of influence from The Witcher 3. In our 3-hour demo, we played through a part of the main quest that had the protagonist, Eivor, assaulting a castle controlled by a Viking warrior to rescue a Saxon king. Defeat Rued, the leader of those Vikings, and Valhalla lets you choose whether to kill him or let him live. We spared him, only for him to break free and return to the king's wedding out for revenge. Here, the choice gets more interesting. You can choose whether to duel Rued, or let the king fight to show his strength. It's an interesting choice with a lot of weight to it. Would the king die, turning the wedding into a tragedy? Or would he be angry with us if we insisted on fighting in his place? It wasn't about right or wrong, but helps us shape our Eivor and how she fit into this world. Hopefully Valhalla's side quests have some similar decisions to make too. Speaking of side quests, we only ran into a few small side missions whilst playing the demo, and they weren't very involved. But Valhalla's world does seem to have some fun encounters, with some strange characters strewn around in a more organic way. Our favourite moment was when we climbed to a vantage point at a church, only to find a bunch of dead soldiers lying around the place, and a woman who looked like a nun praying inside. Let's just say she was more into offering sacrifices than prayers. This short encounter was called a world event in Valhalla, and hopefully the game is full of them. There's such a refreshing change from the design of travelling to an icon on the map to do a side quest. It was one of the few times Valhalla did something surprising. There's a lot of complexity to Valhalla's combat. At a high level, you've got a skill tree that includes both passive boosts to things like damage and crit chance, and also lots of special skills, like being able to sprint attack or stomp on a knockdown enemy for big damage. Skills you unlock with skill points earned by completing quests, world events, and so on. Abilities are a whole separate system which you learn from books you find around the world. These are your power moves in combat, with each one using up a chunk of your adrenaline meter. In the demo, we already had some really powerful abilities unlocked, like throwing several axes at nearby enemies, doing a sort of running tackle, or shooting arrows at a bunch of enemies at once, Legolas style. There are definitely a lot more abilities out there in the world to earn, and there's a lot to the combat even beyond those systems. You can still get off one-hit assassinations if you're hiding, though Valhalla seems to really favour all-out combat over stealth. Weapons fall into 3 different clans, Raven, Wolf and Bear, and your power level with each of these gear types affects the damage you do with them, and contributes to a global power rating that affects your overall strength versus enemies. It feels complicated, but on the plus side, each clan having different weapon types is pretty cool. For example, the Wolf clan Hunter bow takes only a second to pull back and fire, while the Raven Predator bow is slower to attack, but offers a slight aim through and a zoom effect, like a 10th century sniper rifle. So it's complex, but does that mean it's good? Hard to say from just a demo, but it does seem like you can get through a lot of basic fights by just mashing buttons. Valhalla definitely looks flashy when you're pulling off special abilities, but it doesn't really have the fluidity of a character action game like Devil May Cry, or the tension of something like Dark Souls. Like a lot of open world games, it's somewhere in the middle. It wouldn't be a Ubisoft open world without some repetitive, formulaic design, and we ran into some of that in our 3-hour demo. You will find ore outcrops you can break open to mine for resources you'll use to upgrade equipment, bushes scattered around contain berries you can use to replenish your health, each area of the map has objects to collect that increase your wealth, which will presumably feed back into upgrading your settlement and recruiting new Viking warriors. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that part. Of course, there are the classic vantage points to climb and enemies to repopulate places that you've cleared out, even if narratively it doesn't make a lot of sense. There are completion bars on your map for mysteries and secrets, which we think really sums up this sort of checklisty open world design. None of these things are inherently bad, but it does mean if you've played a lot of Assassin's Creed in the past, or open world games in general, you'll find a lot of what you're doing in Valhalla very familiar. One cool way Valhalla is merging its focus on combat with Assassin's Creed's older stealth design is the Viking raids. You'll see raid icons on your map, letting you invade a settlement with a squad of Vikings at your back, turning the city into a battlefield. This ties into the system that lets you recruit soldiers and make them stronger as you improve your own home settlement, though we didn't get to see that part of the game in the demo. If you'd rather be stealthy than charge in with a dozen Viking warriors, you don't have to trigger the raid. You can approach the city solo and take out guards one by one, or even avoid them entirely. Thanks for watching, PC Gamer. Stick around for more on Assassin's Creed Valhalla in the near future.